Hello, it's 9 p.m. in RTD. It's time to English New Edition for tonight headlines. So we have the closing of the 43 round conference of the African Parliamentary Union. For the international scene, Kenya's youth mask management questions. Welcome to our newsroom. The closing of the 43-round conference of the African Parliamentary Union took place yesterday at Djibouti Palace Kempinski. Several bills were adopted, including the re-election of the President of the Djiboutian Assembly at the head of the Executive Committee of the IPU. This conference, which lasted for 5 days in Djibouti, took last night with the recommendation and draft law to improve the living conditions of all Africans across the continent. The session and the conference of the participation of about 20 African countries was held in good conditions with success. For his part, the President of the National Assembly, Mohamed Ali Ahmed, expressed his satisfaction with the success of these sessions and the conference and explained that the next session and conference will be held in Harare, the capital of Zimbabwe. The African Parliamentary Union contribute to the reinforcement of the
43rd conference of the African Parliamentary Union, which is a continental body that brings all the parliamentarians of Africa together to discuss about issues that are affecting the continent. I think this is the first time for the APU to meet since the outbreak of COVID-19. And it is important that this conference is held, the 43rd conference and the 76th meeting of the committee of the APU, to discuss, among other things, the impact of COVID-19 on the population of Africa, the possibility of recovery, the economic recovery, and also how Africa can strategize together as a continent to address the impact of this pandemic. Also, we have looked at the effect of the pandemic on the Africa economies and what Africa can do in order to improve the economy. The Committee for Women Parliamentarians of the African Parliamentary Union also met for its session to discuss the role of women, the role women have played in in the context of this pandemic, how they have been affected, and what can be done to help the vulnerable members of our communities in Africa.
The President of the African Parliamentary Union, Mohamed Ali Ahmed, has indicated for his part its objectives. The objective of the APU are to promote the unity of actions of the parliamentary institution of the African state, to consecrate the APU as a forum of the national parliament of the African continent as an instrument of dialogue and parliamentary cooperation for peace, democracy, good governance, sustainable development, to work toward the progressive establishment of a true African legal community based on the political, economic, social, cultural realities of the continent, to promote contact between African parliamentarians on the one hand and between African parliamentarians and those of the rest of the world on the other hand. It contributes to the reinforcement of the role and the prestige of the parliamentary institution in Africa by being inspired by the fundamental human values as well African as universal, to the promotion of national parliament, the representative of the population, to the promotion of the interparliamentary cooperation and the parliamentary diplomacy, to the effective realization of the ideals of freedom, equality, peace and justice, as well as to the promotion of the human rights in the deepening of the concept of democracy and its effective functioning, the realizations of the objective of the African Union for the establishment of a lasting peace through dialogue within the framework of inter-African cooperation and a policy of good neighborliness, peaceful coexistence, and African regrouping. The President of the National Assembly and President of the UPA, His Excellency Mohamed Ali Humed, received this morning in the Hall of Honors of the Assembly the President of the Parliament of South Sudan, Ms. Gemma Nunu Kumba. The discussion is focused on the cooperation between the two countries and the two peoples in the political, economic, and cultural files. The President of the National Assembly welcomed his counterpart from South Sudan and reiterated his unwavering support. For her part, the President of the South Sudanese Parliament thanked Djibouti for its this warm welcome and its availability in the African continent. The Minister of Defense in charge of relations with Parliament, Mr. Hassan Omar Mohammed, on Thursday has received the courtesy visit of a delegation of senators from Pakistan, where President Djiboutian side parliamentarian Aisha Qayad, Hussein Abdul Qadir, and Mr. Muhammad Ismail, and the technical advisor in charge of civil affairs, Iltir Ibrahim Farah. Led by the Senator Mirzal Muhammad Faridi, the delegation aimed to consolidate bilateral relations between Pakistan and Djibouti. After welcoming his guests, the minister expressed his wishes to see the cooperation between Pakistan and Djibouti consolidated in the military and security file. Then the two parties discussed ways and means to strengthen the relations of friendship, cooperation, and strategic partnership in defense between the two countries. It should be noted that this delegation of Pakistan senator has been in our country since yesterday and was also received by the President of the Republic and the Speaker of the National Assembly. Following the example of the other regions, the Tajura region has started this vaccination campaign against COVID-19. Indeed, this Wednesday, October 13, under the leadership of the prefect of the region, Hassan Dabale Ahmed, and the Secretary General of the Regional Council, Mr. Roble was conducted the injections of the first dose of vaccines. First of all, an awareness session on vaccination was held at the Regional Council by the Chief Doctor, Dr. Ibrahim Dimbio. The meeting was attended by all the officials of the deconcentrated services, the district chief, the customary and religious authority, invited by the prefect of the region. The chief doctors of the Mr. Dimbio explained the virtues of vaccinations and especially the importance of being vaccinated against this threatening pandemic. Subsequently, the various officials and elders moved to the CMH of Tajura, where they received their dose of vaccine. The population of the White City was impatiently waiting for this vaccination and were keen to thank the Minister of Health, Dr. Ahmed Roble Abdillah, by praising the efforts he is making in the fight against this pandemic. In the framework of the capacity building of actors of the National Union of Djiboutian Women in collaboration with the UNFPA, organized in Ali Sabi information sessions and community awareness on the fight against female genital mutilations. During the debate, participants discussed the best way to banish female genital mutilations by using the moral ways to raise awareness about the disastrous effects of the female genital mutilations. It should be noted that the fight of the Djibouti authorities against female genital mutilation is not new, and Djibouti is among the most advanced countries in terms of implementation of institutional mechanisms for the abandonment of harmful practices, including the FGM, with the creation of the National Committee to combat harmful traditional practices, the signing of the Convention on the Rights of the Child by the Republic of Djibouti, as well as the conventions on the elimination of all forms of discrimination against women, and the implementation of Article 333 of the Criminal Code. Under the leadership of the Colonel of Army Bias Omar Muhammad Ali, the Defense and Security Forces conduct from 9 October 2021 to 10 October sweeping conference to curb the product of contraband in all its forms that infest the region. During this operation, 96 packages of cat were intercepted, that is 7,000 packages. This the colonel thanked all the defense and security forces for their teamwork. The operation continues. The colonel urges the population to remain vigilant and to collaborate with the forces present in their respective sectors according to the standards. Procedures in forces was transferred. The actors was transferred to the customs brigade and destroyed on the spot in the presence of the head of the Ali Sabih Custom Brigade, Mr. Muhammad Mumin Hassan. The anti-COVID-19 vaccination campaign was launched at the Medical Hospital Center of Dakhel. To this effect, a large number of Dakhel people received their dose of anti-COVID-19 vaccine in order to protect themselves, their family, friends, sons, teachers, mother, father, as well as the entire population. In addition to the prefect of the region, Mr. Adan Darar Musa, and the president of the regional council, Abdurrahman Yunus Arwe, the leader of the different armed forces, as well as the deconcentrated services, took part in this official day of the anti-COVID-19 launch. The Okarwa population did not miss this opportunity to be vaccinated, recalling that the establishment of vaccination unit against COVID-19 in the regions and the sub-regions of the interior conducted by the Department of Health to cover the entire population. As part of the fight against smuggling and illicit product, on October 12, 2021, elements of the police detachment of Dakhel, with the assistance of the Police Interventionist Company of Dakhel in collaboration with the customs, intercepted following an information collection operation a large quantity of smuggled cigarettes of Benson and Kin brands, a lot of merchandises of cigarette composed of 234 sticks of Benson cigarette, that is to say in total 4 cartons and a half of even more than to a value of 715,000. In this regard, 3 individuals, one of whom is the woman involved in this illicit traffic, are currently in custody at the police barracks and will be presented to the prosecutor's office in the next few hours. Let's remember that the police warns about the risks and consequences of this traffic and asks the population to inform the police about anything that can harm the economy of the country. The Ministry of Health, in collaboration with the authorities of Obok region, launched the coronavirus vaccination campaign in the CM Hash of Obok. The ceremony of the launching of vaccination campaign saw the participation of the prefect of the region, Mr. Abdul Malik Muhammad Banoita, the president of the regional council, Muhammad Humad Ismail, as well as the chief doctors of the regional hospital, Dr. Abdul Qadir Muhammad Ali, of the civil servant belonging to the various deconcentrated services of the state, of the numerous professionals of the health, customary chief, the eminent elders. Let us recall that the Republic of Djibouti has today anti-COVID-19 vaccine and is launching a large-scale campaign. It is thanks to the personal commitment of the President of the Republic, who, thanks to his relations and his diplomacy, was able to obtain the necessary doses for the vaccination coverage of the whole Djiboutian population. The chief doctor of the Obok region, Dr. Abdul Qadir Muhammad Ali, thanked the prefecture and the regional councils of Obok, as well as the components that took part in this commendable initiative. Following the example of the whole world, the Djibouti Red Crescent celebrated today the International Day of Hand Washing. Indeed, this day, which corresponds to October 13 of each year, is celebrated in the world since 2008. It raises awareness of the world population on hand hygiene. It is in this context the Red Crescent celebrated has deployed hand washing stations on different sites in the capital, including the place of Mahmoud Harbi and the supermarket Napoleon. as an auxiliary of public authorities in the vanguards of the policy of good hygiene practices. The National Society of the Red Crescent of Djibouti is organizing a large awareness campaign on hand washing. Indeed, thousands of people die every year because of microbial infection. The current context of pandemic COVID-19 will have to remember the importance of hand hygiene and give all its meaning to this day. This day has seen the participation of the leaders of the Red Crescent, including the President, Mr. Abdi Farah, and volunteers. For the international scene, COVID-19 in Kenya, the management of used masks raises questions. They may not be noticeable at first glances, but used masks have become part of the roadside trashes in Kenya. Since the new mask decree, the number of used surgical masks has increased considerably, raising the questions of their disposal. The decree was put in place by the government to contain the spread of COVID-19, but since then a new dilemma has arisen, that of the management of used masks, with some of the used masks ending up in these already polluted rivers. The main concern is what impact they will have on the environment. The Minister of Health, in collaboration with the Kenya National Environmental Management Authority, has put in place guidelines on how to safely dispose of the masks. However, the problem is persistent. COVID-19 in Italy favor protesters against the Green Pass. The generalization of the health pass to work has entered into forces in Italy. Taking the train, going to work, whether you are an office worker, a magistrate, or a baker, is now subject to the obligations to show valid QR code. Demonstrations against these last measures of the Italian government to fight against the return of the coronavirus took place all the day in the countries, but they remained rather peaceful. The ports of Ancona and Genoa were blocked by striking dockers, and demonstrations took place in Rome. But the excesses of the last week were avoided. This is it for the news. Thanks for watching us. Have a good evening.